Hey, I want to welcome you again today to Revive Talk, a ministry of Revive Church here in Stuart, Florida. And I want to say that I miss my wife today, who's not going to be joining us. But today we have one of the most relevant conversations that we could have. Today we're going to talk a little bit about mask and food safety. And I have what we believe is an absolute expert in that field, in Kyle Greene. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Food safety, the wearing of masks, understanding the transmission of foodborne diseases, those kind of things are viruses or whatnot, become critical to you in this business.
Absolutely.
We're in the midst of a mask nightmare in Martin County. So tell us some of the things that are issues for you around the masking.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things I see as an operator, in the food service world, and there's a line since we were able to reopen. There's been a really large dichotomy, let's say, between hospital and hospitality.
Okay,
and so I think the general public misses this part, or maybe they don't know it because it's not being told out there. And when restaurants reopened, the CDC said, "Hey, here's some guidelines, right? Here's a PDF, here's a website." The only two that I can recall that were mandatory were the capacity settings and the social distancing. Those were the ones that were actually mandatory. Everything else was a recommendation.
You had to be at 25% capacity to start
25%, no bar service, and 6 feet apart inside and outside, but your inside was where your capacity ruling came. And that's based on your fire code rating. So, for me, I think we were rated at 280. So 25% of that was 68 or 70
and
or whatever.
And I think a lot of us forget that this is not that long ago.
This is May 4th we opened.
Yes, this is only a few months ago.
Yep.
How quickly these things have evolved. But if you remember, we started with just capacity limitations.
Correct. And your outside seating, as long as you were 6 feet apart, you could be at any capacity. Because it was rated we were told it was rated on your fire occupancy load inside the restaurants. So, that led a lot of restaurants to interpreting those mandates, or those recommendations rather. And so a lot of people said, "Hey, we're gonna start off, and we're gonna go with masks and gloves and temperature checking, and we're gonna do the whole 9 yards, and it's gonna be like a doctor's office." We chose, and I'm not saying for or against right now. I'm just talking about what actually happened. We chose to kind of focus more on the hospitality side because at the time the numbers from what we were able to ascertain were improving. We were allowed to reopen. So these were all positive signs that we made our decision on. And so we said, you know what? And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. So I said, all right, we're going to do the paper menus. We're going to do the social distancing. We've got a guy dedicated cleaning the restaurant from 12 to 8, just walking around sanitizing things. For the last 3 years since we've been open, we've always had the cleaning crew come in at night, clean the restaurant, sanitize everything. So that was already in place. We already ran a good, safe practice, and in food service and the general public, I don't think they're aware of how involved we are on this. Now, all restaurants, not just us, but all restaurants throughout the country, we're held to a very high standard as far as food safety. So every day we're protecting the public from bacteria, from foodborne illnesses, including virus, right? Such as norovirus, hepatitis A, and all these other viruses. Now, the difference is those are not transmittable through respiratory, but it's still a virus. So the food practices essentially stay the same at the fundamental level.
So up to this point, there's no requirement on a restaurant for your employees to be wearing masks.
At that point in time, no. It was a recommendation. And if I remember correctly, Palm Beach County did, and I don't know Miami Broward. I think they did, but I could be wrong. But I believe Palm Beach County when they reopened restaurants, because it was Palm Beach, Broward, and Martin. So I think Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade. So they were all lumped in when we could reopen. They were a week or so behind the rest of the state. And I think they were mandating to wear masks down south. And I think just because of the population density, don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what the case was. And so, but their numbers kept climbing. And so for me, I thought, well, that's strange, right? So we're doing the distancing. The first thing you learn in food safety is hand washing. And the second thing you learn is gloves and sanitizer are no replacement for hand washing. That's right in the FDA food code.
Right.
So I taught my team, again, we revisited hand washing and, keep your distance, et cetera, et cetera. And so we reopened and we went with that. And a lot of our guests, like 98% of our guests were coming in not wearing masks. A lot of people were ready to be done with it and move on. And as I think at that time, we all thought that's where it was going, or trending anyway.
Right.
Like we were, hey, we quarantined, we've kind of kicked it in the butt. I think we're moving in the right direction. So now, fast forward, let's say 6 weeks roughly. Now we're in the midst of numbers creeping up. Where the mask mandates. That's and I think you'd agree with me. Literally tearing the community apart.
Agreed.
Because now it's, well, I'm for masks, I'm against masks. And what I've been talking to people about in the last week or so, because I've learned a lot in the last couple days, in the last week and a half. You can find any article you want to support your opinion on the internet, regardless of what it is.
You are correct.
Right? You can find anything. If you want to find, the birthplace of the Lucky Charm leprechaun, you're gonna find it and say, "Yep, here it is." Right?
You are correct.
So I think that a lot of, and this isn't just for restaurants. I think there's people in general. A lot of people are able to find these facts, or pseudo facts. Let's say maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but information. And say, see, look, I told you so. It's written down. Somebody else agrees with me. And that, I feel, is where the disconnect comes in to the general public. I saw a post from a friend of mine the other day that said, I won't take my kids to the grocery store because of how people are acting in the stores. And I don't want them to see that. Or
how people are
attacked.
acting about people coming in without a mask.
With a mask, without a mask, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought about it, and I'm going to use a cereal reference again. And I said, man, I remember going to the grocery store as a kid. I'd get a cookie. I'd go try to bother my mom to get, my favorite, cereal box.
Yeah.
And I loved going to the grocery store. I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved it. And now I'm like, man, you can't. That's just weird to me. So I think there's an essence of, there's so much information, and there's so much that I feel is not being told to us as general public, that it's hard for people to make decisions. And when you're in, a leadership role of whether it's business, government, church, what information do you go with?
Yeah.
Do you go with, this news network, that news network, this individual blog, this person over here? Yeah. And so for me, what I've found is going to these county commissioner meetings and listening to the healthcare professionals, the health department. I learned a lot, or heard and observed a lot, that you're not seeing on the news, that you're not seeing on the internet. And it gives you another perspective, And of course the arguments there, well, those numbers are wrong, or this or that. And maybe they are.
You've been to the St. Lucie Commissioners meeting.
Yes.
You've been to the Martin County.
Yes.
We've been there together.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you have. You have an entire parade of people with data and information and facts. Some of them claiming to be doctors. Some of them, I found it humorous that in the last meeting that I was in, we had a professional doctor that knew everything about viruses that turned out to be a lactate specialist. And it's just difficult then to say who is the expert, what is the expert information, what's right. And even your commissioners are saying, we don't know if we have good data or not. Right.
And the commissioners, I think not just Martin County, but I think with the commissioners, the mayors, the governors across the country, I think I don't envy them. It's a challenge, and they're getting it one way or the other. And I wrote the commissioners, a letter, and I said, I can only imagine the challenging situation you guys are being put in, because on one side, the public is calling for, masks, save everybody, et cetera, et cetera. On the other side, you have the people that are more concerned about the infringement of the rights.
Sure.
And I think, and obviously both sides are fair. And of course you get the heated arguments where one side says, well, why can't you just put the mask on if it's going to help everybody? And then these people, because they're looking for these answers on the internet, are saying, well, they don't work, and here's my internet proof, and here's my internet proof. So you almost are at a stalemate. And honest, I was a victim of this up until about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And my mindset personally has evolved, because I've had now conversations with a lot of healthcare professionals, and my mindset is, you know what? I don't like the government being say, you have to do this, you have to do it, or else, right? And I don't like that, whether it's government. I don't lead my team that way. I don't like to tell my team, you have to do this or else.
Right.
I like to educate my team as to why it's important and how to be successful. I tell my team, and I learned this from a great mentor of mine, accountability is 4 steps. It's clear direction, it's the tools to be successful, it's follow-up, and then it's measurement.
Yeah.
Right? So if I say, hey, we're going to move the business in this direction, or we're going to go over here, do you see that spot over there on the horizon? That's where we're going. Clear direction, right? And then what do we need to do that? We need the tools to be successful, and we need the training, and we need the techniques. So let's develop all that, and let's go. And then hey, how are we doing? Where are we at? Do we need help? Maybe we need a little course correction. Maybe we've got to move to the left 4 degrees, right? And then we measure that. Were we effective? Did we accomplish our mission? And so I'm in the mindset of, you know what? Although I don't want the government to lead by fear, I think, and I've had some time now to really kind of articulate what and process what my mindset is. As a business operator, what do I do? Do I join the fight and say no mask? Or I join the fight and say yes mask? I'm going to, just like the commissioners and our leadership, I'm going to upset people regardless. And at the end of the day, I still need guests. So how does any business, whether it's a retail store or whether it's, an auto repair shop or any business, how do we get through this? And so I was able to detach myself a little bit and really look at it. And I said, okay. And like I said in the St. Louis County Commission meetings 2.5 weeks ago, I said, I'm willing to try it, and let's try it, and let's do it. And if the healthcare professionals are saying let's do it, yes, let's try it, let's do it, and let's county healthcare commissioners help reach out to the community and tell us how to do it. Right? I understand the mask is to protect you from me.
Right.
As a doctor wears a mask and goes into the room and sees the patient, it's to protect the patient from anything the doctor may have, right? However, that doctor now goes to the next room. He doesn't have the same mask. He's going to change his mask, wash his hands, change his gloves, go into the next room. I've had individuals, these conversations I've had, and great conversations, and they said, yeah, the doctor can wear the same mask through the same 10-hour surgery. Understood.
One environment,
one environment, one surgery. Where a server or someone at, I just went and had to get a shirt from Men's Warehouse. How many people are they seeing on a daily basis in retail? So my question then becomes, well, and I don't know this because I'm not a scientist, but I know this from my food service training. Well, at what point should I wash my mask? Should I change my mask? Is there guidance on that in the healthcare world? And healthcare professionals, like what do they do when the nurse has to go in and see multiple people before the doctor? I think that part is being overlooked, and therefore my hypothesis is if the general public is wearing masks but not using the mask properly, or not getting guidance from the people that are mandating the masks on how to use them, or the other steps you can do, like wash your hands, get a good night's sleep, take your vitamins, don't drink, don't smoke, don't eat overly fatty, sugary, salty foods, and help build your natural immune system. The rest of it that comes with being healthy, I think we're missing a big percentage of the puzzle And if we're not able to utilize the tools properly to accomplish the mission, therefore we don't accomplish the mission, and the virus continues to spread because and this is how I relate it to food service. And again, this isn't off Google. This is from 20 years of experience. And I tell people this all the time. If I'm working with chicken and I'm wearing my gloves, and I get done with my chicken and I go and I make salads and I don't change my gloves, I'm going to get someone very sick. Now, yes. Salmonella bacteria and different microscopic organism, but concept I think is the same. I'm going to get someone very sick. So if I don't change my gloves, wash my hands, put on fresh gloves, and then go make my salads, we're in trouble. So when this all came out, I remember them saying, but before masks were even a thing, because we know they said, wear a mask, don't wear masks, wear a mask again. And medical professionals have told me, hey, we've learned more about it and the masks do work. And I'm not refuting that. I get that. So, but the thought process is, well, when should I change my mask? When should I wear it? As one of my servers on my service team, or my bartenders, they might come they have a 3-table station. So and each of those tables have 4 chairs. So they could be interacting with 12 people at any given time.
Correct.
Plus the people around them. So I tell my team, hey guys, if you have a disposable mask, change them every 30 minutes. I don't know if that's the right number, but I know it's better than wearing the same mask for 8 hours a day.
Truly, this is a very, very frustrating part of this, because in the conversation of wearing mask, I've heard 0 guidelines on what mask to wear.
Correct.
And I'm seeing people make masks out of anything.
Anything, right.
Sunscreens.
Right.
They're wearing cheesecloth. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that we don't even give a guideline as to what is a mask that would help.
Right. Now, I have seen, I agree with you. And just the other day, I have seen on the Department of Health website, for Florida Department of Health, they said a cloth mask. And so
cheesecloth is a cloth.
Cheesecloth is a cloth. Right. Exactly. So what I kind of did with my team in my restaurant, I said, if you're going to wear a cloth mask, maybe have 3 or 4 of them that you can change periodically throughout your shift. And the reason why I keep talking about changing the mask is going back to the food service thing. If my team is wearing the mask, but they're out still interacting with the environment around them, doorknobs, door handles, the point of sale for the POS, which, we're sanitizing, but you still have to touch a physical environment throughout the course of your day.
Right.
No matter what you do, right? So, the idea is, and when they first came out with this was, don't touch your face. Make sure you're washing your hands a lot, which, yes, wash your hands a lot. If anyone gets one thing out of this program today, please wash your hands 20 times more than you think, because that's the best way to stop transmitting it physically, right? So, but then people start to touch their mask. They take it off, or they put it up, they take it down, they put it up, they take it down. And what's everyone doing? They're grabbing the front of their mask. Maybe they can grab the side, whatever, but 90% of people I see, and I see 400 or 500 people, the general public a day, up, down, sideways, this, that, out of their pocket, out of their bag. So in theory, if you're out touching the environment and you're not washing your hands more than you think you should, you could have virus on this hand. You could have virus on this hand. Maybe if this hand touches your bare face, maybe that's not enough viral load to inhale and get affected. But if you keep touching your mask and you keep compounding how much bacteria and potential virus you have on your mask, now you're going to breathe it through your mask. So that's why I say change your mask and wash your hands. And by no means am I a health expert. This is just basic. This is my food service health and safety training kicking in.
Sure.
And what I kind of seem to be common sense, because if I took my chicken hands and I touched the cloth, I'm going to have a little chicken on it.
Right.
And I touch it 3 more times, I'm going to have a lot more chicken on it. So in my mind, that's kind of how I process it. And my question is, why isn't that information being told by the local news or the national news or the mandates? And about 2 weeks ago, I did a video and I asked medical professional, I said, hey, let me know if there's more to it, something that I'm missing, because I don't know it all. We're starting to bridge hospital and hospitality together, and I want to learn so I can be effective at reducing the spread of the virus
Sure.
in my restaurant, keeping my team healthy, keeping my guests healthy, and keeping my team employed. And that's the goal.
Yeah, and I want to talk about it for just a moment from the business owner's perspective, because you've been put in a rather unique situation in that part of the county order is that you would post a sign on your business saying masks are required here. And I don't mean this to sound glib, but if someone comes in without a mask, you don't get a ticket.
Right.
The customer gets a ticket.
Right.
And the situation that's putting you in is now you're having to set up an environment where there are offenders and non-offenders who are angry with each other, and you're kind of in a hands-off mode.
Right.
I mean, I would expect any business owner to say, if you want to come and eat here, I want you to come and eat here. If you're not wearing a mask, I'm still going to serve you because that's business for my, it's income for my business. And yet your customer base is now going to be tattling on each other. And quite honestly, they're going to be coming to you and saying, hey, what are you going to do about these people over here not in a mask? And you're going to be put in the middle of that situation. I think this is a horrible thing to do to business owners.
It's very tough to do business owners. And honestly, until you brought that up, I didn't even think of that point. So I'm really happy you did, because I don't have that answer. We're already, restaurants, are already at 50% capacity. Restaurants are already, I think I read a report the other day from the Restaurant Business, which is a restaurant industry publication. 24,000 restaurants last week is up to now 31 or 36,000 restaurants this week that have closed their doors for good throughout the country. And usually you're going to have, I think the national industry average of employees per restaurant location, average across the country, and I'm vague on this, but I think it's somewhere between like 80 employees. So just for easy math, let's just say 100. You're talking about 310,000 jobs gone like that, and businesses that aren't gonna just not gonna reopen. So here in Florida, and in my restaurant's in St. Lucie County, but Martin, St. Lucie County to me is the same. It's the Treasure Coast. I'm a child of both.
Sure.
So for me, it's the same. So for the Treasure Coast, we're already 50% capacity. A lot of our guests, not just mine, just restaurants, you could go out and see. A lot of the restaurants aren't even filling 50% because there are a lot of people, and rightfully so, afraid to go out of the house, and so now what's happening, to that point, or what I believe will happen is now the clientele base that is coming in is now going to diverge even more and be divided. And it's kind of just more division of the people, and distraction, which to me, I think plays to a larger scale, but that's a whole nother conversation. But, so it makes it challenging because, you're absolutely right. Do the people go up and say, well, they're not forcing their guests to wear a mask, so we're not going there. But then, people that aren't wearing masks are like, well, you're going to force me to wear a mask, so I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go somewhere else. So now I'm reducing my opportunity to provide for my team. I have 160 team members. I'm now gambling with their family's income. The way I look at it is I've got about 3 to 4 people for every one person that works for me, because maybe there's a spouse and 2 kids, or maybe there's 3 kids, or maybe there's a family member they're supporting. So you take 160 times that by 4.
Yeah,
I've got 620 people counting on me to make the right decision. So if I get forced into, I can only serve you if you have a mask, do I alienate? 95% of my guests have not been wearing masks. Do I alienate 95% to satisfy a 5? Realistically, I'd be better off to just close the doors until this is over.
I tell you, the things that I foresee coming out of this, there are exceptions to the mask rule that were part of the commissioner's discussion, which is if you have a health reason or some reason why you can't wear a mask, then you don't. And because of HIPAA laws, you don't have to expose why it is you don't. What does that contribute to? Here's what's going to happen. We're going to be in the grocery store. Somebody who wears a mask and believes everybody should be wearing a mask is going to be upset because somebody's come down the aisle without a mask on.
Right.
They're going to confront that person. That person's going to say, I don't have to wear a mask. Well, why? I don't have to tell you why I don't have to wear a mask because of HIPAA rules. Oh, well, then I'm calling the police and I'm going to video you and we're going to detain you until the police get here so we can find out if you're valid and not wearing. It's just so many things not thought through. And I don't see any way at all our law enforcement can enforce it. How are you going to be able to walk in and stay at a grocery store to see who's coming in with and without a mask? I think the shame of it is for guys like you, Kyle, the real shame of it is that you're going to be put in the middle of your customers having conflicts. And you being put in the place of do something about this or we're calling the police.
It's a lose-lose.
It's a lose-lose for everybody.
And I think even the grocery, I don't mean to cut you off, but even the grocery store, I guarantee you more people are going to be inclined to order more from home. And maybe it might not come from that grocery store. It could come from somewhere else because they don't want to go to the grocery store. So now we're self-inflicting wounds to our own economic community here.
And you won't see this as much because of the location of Kyle G's. But now I know of Martin County residents who are now going to St. Lucie County to shop because they don't have to wear a mask because they can go to a restaurant without it.
I've seen it.
And then you have the insanity of you have to wear your mask from the time you get to the door until the table because once you're at the table, you're eating and you don't have to wear a mask. So now we're talking about wearing it sometimes in the restaurant and sometimes not.
And who polices that?
Today, our guest has been Kyle Greene. Owner of Kyle G's restaurant on Hutchinson Island. If you haven't eaten there, listen, go try this place out. It is safe. It is good. It is a great value for your dollar. It's well run and well managed. And I thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
God bless you all as we manage our way through mask mandates and viruses and corona. I pray peace over every one of your households as we deal with all of this. But thank you. For contributing to the conversation with us today, Kyle.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You bet. God bless and have a good day.